Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast. Ozcast. Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
You know, it's really something when a figure like Pope Francis is hospitalized. Mm-hmm. The whole world kind of takes notice. Mm-hmm. In the current situation, with him battling a lung infection in Rome, has everyone kind of holding their breath.
Right.
But what I find particularly interesting is how deeply this news is resonating in his home country, Argentina.
Oh, absolutely.
What do you think is fueling that intense connection?
Well, I think it's, it's definitely multi-layered. Of course, there's the pride factor. Pope Francis is the first ever Latin American pope, mm-hmm. and he's one of their own. But I think it goes far beyond, mm-hmm. just national pride. I think his illness feels personal to many Argentinians.
You know, it's interesting you say that, because when I was looking at the coverage, it wasn't just factual reporting. It felt almost like collective grief. What do you say?
Absolutely. You see it in the massive prayer gatherings across the country. People uniting in a shared worry. Mm. And then there's the planned mass at Plaza Constitución in Buenos Aires, a location so deeply intertwined with Pope Francis's early work with those in poverty. That's a powerful statement.
Plaza Constitución, you're right, that choice speaks volumes. And even beyond the organized events, there's that striking image of Buenos Aires' iconic obelisk lit up with the message, "Francis, the city prays for you." It's almost like the entire city is holding its breath.
It's a visual representation of the emotional connection, for sure. Even Argentina's president referred to Pope Francis as a true friend, one who fights all their lives. That's not typical political speak.
No, it's deeply personal. So for someone like you or me, who might not be deeply familiar with the nuances of the Catholic Church, what is it about Pope Francis that makes him stand out? What makes him resonate with people, even those outside of Argentina?
One way to understand it is that Pope Francis isn't simply preaching compassion. He's embodying it. I think many see him as a leader who actually walks the walk. For example, there's his practice of washing the feet of prisoners, or his open embrace of people with disabilities. He's also challenged global economic inequality head-on. These aren't just symbolic gestures. They're actions that reflect a real shift in how the church engages with the marginalized earth.
He's definitely shaken things up, hasn't he? It's almost like he's stripped away some of the formality and gotten back to the core message of the Gospels.
And that resonates with people who are disillusioned with institutions that don't practice what they preach. I think it also explains why his illness is hitting so hard. It's not just about a pope being sick. It's about a symbol of hope and action being vulnerable.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like people are clinging to that hope, especially now.
Exactly. And speaking of hope, there's this heartwarming anecdote in one of the articles. Even while in the hospital, Pope Francis took the time to personally thank children who'd sent him letters and drawings.
That's really touching. It shows that even amidst his own struggles, he's still focused on connection, particularly with the young and vulnerable.
It's that genuine compassion, his focus on the human element, that sets him apart. It's why people feel such a deep connection to him, even those who might disagree with certain church doctrines. It transcends the religious aspect.
It's true. He's a global figure, but with a very human touch. Now, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but this idea of action over words, I think is something our listeners should really consider as we delve deeper.
Yeah, you're right. It's a powerful message. Think about it. How often do you see a world leader who so consistently chooses action over rhetoric?
It's pretty rare, isn't it? And I think that's what makes Pope Francis such a compelling figure. Even to those who might not be religious, he's not just talking about change, he's living it.
Exactly. And that resonates with people who are disillusioned with systems and institutions that don't seem to live up to their own ideals. Mm-hmm. People are hungry for authenticity, for leaders who genuinely walk the walk.
It's funny you say that, because as I was going through these articles, I actually found myself thinking about my own life. Like, where can I be more action-oriented? What Plaza Constitution exists in my own community where I could make a real difference?
That's a great question to ask yourself. And I think it speaks to the power of Pope Francis's example. He challenges us to think beyond ourselves, to consider how we can contribute to something larger.
And it's not about grand gestures, is it? I mean, even that small anecdote about him thanking the children who sent him letters and drawings while he's hospitalized, it really stuck with me.
It's a small gesture with a big impact. It shows that even in the midst of his own struggles, he's thinking about others, especially the most vulnerable. That's what makes him so relatable, even to people from completely different backgrounds and belief systems.
He seems to connect with people on a human level, regardless of their faith or social status.
Exactly. And that's what makes his message so universal. It's about compassion, empathy, and taking action to make the world a better place. Those are values that resonate with people everywhere.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Pope Francis and his unique connection with Argentina, what's the key takeaway you'd like to leave our listener with?
I think it's the reminder that leadership isn't just about titles or positions. It's about embodying values that inspire others to action. And that's something we can all strive for, no matter who we are or what we believe.
Beautifully said. And that's a powerful message, especially in a world that often feels divided and disconnected.
Yeah, it really makes you think about how we can each make a difference in our own spheres of influence, whether it's on a global stage or in our own communities. The power of action really can't be overstated.
It's that ripple effect. One person's actions can inspire countless others to follow suit. And in a world grappling with so many complex issues, that sense of agency, that belief that we can make a difference is crucial. You've hit on something important there. It's about agency. We've been talking about Pope Francis and his connection to Argentina. But what's striking is how his message transcends borders and belief systems. What do you think it is about his approach that resonates so deeply, not just in Argentina, but globally?
That's a great question. I think it's the authenticity we were talking about earlier. People sense that he's not driven by power or ambition, but by a genuine desire to serve others. And that resonates with a deep human need for connection and purpose.
So for our listener who's been with us on this deep dive, what's one question we can leave them with, something to spark further reflection as they go about their day?
How about this? What small act of compassion or service can you perform today in your own life that might inspire someone else to do the same?
Wow. That's a great question. It really brings it home, doesn't it? It's a reminder that we don't have to be a global figure like Pope Francis to make a positive impact. We can all embody that same spirit of action right here, right now. Thanks for joining us on this incredibly insightful deep dive. It's given me a lot to think about, and I hope it's done the same for you.
The pleasure was all mine.
Until next time.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.